we see that if I would go around now in this room, and I would go one by one, and I would ask every person sitting over here, what do you want? Right? So everybody would have a different answer of what they wanted, what their dreams are, what their aspirations are, right? But if you sit down with them and you ask them, okay, why do you want that? And you begin to elaborate on the things that you want and dig deep into them, you realize that the reason you want the things that you want is ultimately because deep down inside, what does the person want? A person ultimately inside wants to be happy. And the origin of every want of a person is to be happy. And therefore, I think it's a very, very important topic to understand what is true happiness. What is true happiness and how do we get there? And I'm going to do a bekitzur because this is something, a class that I did give before, but I'll give it a bekitzur. Happened to be I didn't record it, it didn't go out. But Memele, if we look at it, if I asked you what's the definition of happiness, and we went and we did a quick Google search, it would tell you that it's a chemical reaction, that there are certain hormones, neurotransmitters, that send a signal to the mind, and it creates this emotion, a feeling of rejoice, of happiness, of joy. But if you look at it, you realize, where does it originate from? Where does happiness originate from? Internally. Something inside. And externalities, things from the outside, can cause you to arouse those neurotransmitters to make you happy. But the reality is that true happiness is not based on something outside. Rather, it's based on something internal. And the more a person tries to seek outside for happiness, the less he'll have happiness. What do I mean to say? The more a person believes that he'll attain happiness from material objects, from external things, a new car, a new house, a wife, whatever it may be, the more he believes he'll get something based on something external, the less true happiness he'll really have. Because true happiness is not something based outside, rather it's something that comes internally. Now, where's my proof to this? There's actually a Mishnah in Pirkei Avot, and it says in regards to love, not in regards to happiness, it says in regards to love. And I think we spoke about this before in the past. It says, Ahava shetlua b'davar. Love that's contingent on something. Batla davar, batla ahava. When the thing that it's contingent on is no longer exist, or is no longer in the picture, the love also goes with it. And the Mishnah continues. And it says, however, love that's not contingent on something, it'll last forever. It'll never break. No matter what happens, it'll never break. So if I were to give you two examples of these two types of loves, a love that's contingent on something, it's going to hurt some people to hear this, but the reality is friendship, relationships, many of them are based on contingencies, as long as it's beneficial to me. And I'll give you a proof to this, that actually I was experienced in my life. It wasn't me firsthand, but it was a friend of mine. It happened to be, he went to college, and he was striving over there in college. He joined a fraternity, and everything was going great, and everything was going good. And after 2 years of being over there, his mental health took a turn for the worst. He found himself unsure of which direction he wants to go in life. And he found himself just going down and down, and his grades were taking a hit, until eventually he threw him out of the college. Now, if I would show you videos of this person a year prior to him coming home, meaning coming back from college, you would think he has all the friends in the whole entire world. You can imagine a fraternity. What do they call each other? Brothers. We're brothers. You went through the hazing. You went through the whole process. You became my brother. When he came home, and I remember this because this happened to be a friend of mine. When he came home, I remember the day he came home. He was in a deep funk, a deep depression. And I remember I came to him, and I sat down with him. And what I found so interesting is that not one person from all of his brothers, all of his friends from college, people that were his love, I love you, and this and that, not one of them called him. Not one of them was there for him. And through the next 2 years, he suffered with what was almost depression that almost became chronic. And in the next 2 years, I sat down with him almost every single day. And I would feed him positivity, and get him until the next, and then eventually get himself back on his feet. And don't think it's because I'm such a good person, because more than that, it's so amazing that you sat down with him. And don't think it was easy for me, because many times it actually caused conflict between me and my wife. But the reason I did it was another Mishnah in Pirkei Avot that says, "B'makom she'en ish, tishtadel liot ish." In a place where there's no other person, try your best to be that person. So when I look around and I see a person who's suffering from depression, he's having a hardship with his life, he doesn't know which way he's going, which direction, I say, Hashem, there's nobody else here. So therefore I have to do my best to be that person. So I did. I helped him. Hashem, now he's in a better place. But we see friendship, many times, it's contingent that it's mutually beneficial for me. As long as it works for me. As long as it doesn't bother me. But as soon as we don't have the same mutual interest, as soon as you tell me, you know what, you don't want to go out with me anymore. We used to enjoy going out together, to parties, to bars, whatever it may be, right? Now all of a sudden it became religious. You don't want to go there anymore. Guess what? Batla davar, batla ava. You get rid of that contingency of that mutually beneficial thing, which is, oh, I like hanging out with you because it's also mutually beneficial for me. Get rid of that. And you see the friendship also leaves with it. How many friends really stay around when things become tough? And an example of ahava, love that's unconditional, is the love of a mother. There's no one in the world that will love somebody like a mother loves her child. A mother loves her child unconditionally, even if it means it's detrimental to her. And we see this story exemplified in Melachim. Everybody knows the famous story, Shlomo HaMelech. Shlomo HaMelech, there's a famous story that two women came before him. They lived in the same house. And one of them, she had a baby. 3 days later, the second one had a baby. Both of them had baby boys. After a few days, they both come in front of Shlomo HaMelech now. Now Shlomo HaMelech was a judge. And we know the Midrash in Shir Hashirim Rabbah says Shlomo HaMelech was the smartest person to ever live. And they both come in front of Shlomo HaMelech, and the one woman comes in, she says, Shlomo, my king, in the middle of the night, this woman suffocated her baby. And she came over to my room, stole my baby, swapped it with hers. And when I woke up in the morning, I woke up to a lifeless baby in my hands. Upon further examination, I realized it wasn't mine. That she stole my baby in the middle of the night. And the other woman says, what is she talking about? She's lying. Her baby died and she wants to take my baby away from me. Shlomo HaMelech asked them, is there any witnesses? Anybody there who can testify to what you're saying? No. It was only us two in the house. Nobody else. Only me and you. Only me and her. Shlomo HaMelech says, okay, what can I do? No proof. No witnesses. Your word against hers. You have 50% claim of this baby. You have 50% claim of this baby. He tells his advisor, go get me a knife. I'm going to saw the baby in half. You take half. You take half. Right away, one of the women screams out without even thinking about it. No, it's okay. Let her have the baby. Let her have the baby. Now the other woman, realizing that she already lost, there's no way that she can win after that. When that burst out, it was very clear and very evident who the mother really was. Because only a mother can sacrifice from herself and say, I'd rather not raise my own child and let him live with a strange woman, let him be raised by her, than for him to die. Only a mother has that ability to suffer her rest of her life just to know her baby is alive. She realized she lost it. She wasn't going to win the case anymore. And she says, cut it in half. So the Radak, the commentary on that, says, why did she say that? Because she realized she wasn't going to win the case anymore, so she was hoping that she can, because misery loves company. But we see from over here that a mother's love knows no bounds. A mother's love has no boundaries. And a mother is willing to do for her child even when it's detrimental to her. I'll give you a second story that illustrates this point.
No, that story kind of says both ways.
Okay, we'll talk about it after. But right now, we'll talk about after which ways goes.
Ruthless mom and...
Could be, we don't know. But we'll see. But let's say this story, and let's see how you take this one. A story of a child who was in elementary school. Happened to be, he lived in a house with a poor mother. They weren't so wealthy. And as he grew up, his mother used to come pick him up from school. And he realized, as his friends began to make fun of him, that his mother was missing an eye. She was one eye, only had one eye. And all of his friends would make fun of him. Your mother has one eye, Cyclops mom, all types of crazy names. And the child was mamash embarrassed. Every day came to school, another embarrassment. And you can imagine the young children, they don't have the emotional sensitivity. They were very cruel. And he decided to himself, I'm going to devise a plan. What was the plan? I'm going to do very good in school. I'm going to make a lot of money. and I'm going to leave my house and I'm going to rid myself of my mother and his embarrassment. And he does exactly that. He does very, very well in school. He gets very good grades. He gets all the great scores, SAT, he goes to a good college, finishes, and he gets a high-paying job, but purposely in a different state, to move away from his mother. He moves away from his mother and says, okay, that's it, I'm done with her. He stays over there, he gets married, and he has kids. One day, the father is laying down in the bed, many years later, and his children come running into the room. They're still young, 5, 6, 7. They come running into the room, screaming, Daddy, Daddy, there's a one-eyed woman by the door. And he sees his children are frightened and only strengthened his resolve to stay away from his mother. He gets up, he goes to the door, he knows wholeheartedly who it is. He goes to the door. He says, who are you and what are you doing here? The mother realized that he was embarrassed of her. She said, I'm sorry, I must have got the wrong address and left the house. Shortly after, about a year or so after, he gets a phone call from the lawyer from his hometown. He says, is this Mr. So-and-so? He tells him, yes, it's me. He tells him, I don't know how to tell you this, but your mother passed away. You need to come to the house and sign over the will to collect all of the assets. So the guy says, okay, what do I have to do? I have to come. No problem. He flies back to his hometown. And he gets into the house of his mother's house, where he grew up, and he finds a letter on the dinner table addressed to him from his mother. He opens up the envelope, and he opens up the letter addressed to him, and he starts to read. My dear son, I'm so sorry that you had to find out this way, and I'm so sorry that I've embarrassed you your whole entire life. But I wanted to tell you, when you were a child, you were in a freak accident, and you actually lost eyesight in one of your eyes. And when I came to the hospital, I said to the doctor, is there any way we can save the eye? He says, only if we get someone to donate parts of their eye can we save his vision. Otherwise, he'll be blind in one eye for the rest of his life. Without hesitation, I signed myself over to donate my eye so that way you could see for the rest of your life. The doctors refused, but I insisted, and they did the surgery. I never wanted to tell you because I never wanted to force you to make me a part of your life. But now that I'm leaving the world, I just want to ask you one last request. I never really truly got to enjoy my grandchildren. So the one thing I ask of you is with that eye, look at them as much as you can so that when you see them, I'm also seeing them. This is a story that touches your heart. But you realize that a mother's love has no bounds, it's unconditional. But this principle of something unconditional, something conditional versus something conditional, it doesn't just stay in love. It's everywhere in the world. Everything, every emotion, every relationship, anything that's contingent on something, when that contingency leaves, that thing also leaves. And therefore, if your happiness is contingent on something external, on money, on a car, on women, whatever it may be, then it's contingent on those things. And if those things leave, your happiness will leave with it. So therefore, true lasting happiness cannot come from that. It cannot come from externalities. So where does it come from? Where does it stem from? It actually stems from somewhere much deeper, somewhere inside. And I'll show you a proof to this. The Malbim, he writes, we know that Shavout is also the Mefarshim bring down, is also the Ilula, the Yortzeit of David HaMelech. Happened to be passed away on Shavuot, that also was Shabbat. And that's why we read Tehillim, the beginning and the end. And we also read Megillat Ruth. Why do we read Megillat Ruth? Commemoration to David. Who is Megillat Ruth? Ruth was his great-grandmother. And he was able to come to the world because of Ruth. And in the marrying Boaz, he brought another child to the world who brought Yishai, who brought David. So we read a commemoration of that. The most famous sefer David HaMelech ever wrote was Tehillim, Psalms. And in the first verse in Psalms, he says, Ashrei ha'ish asher lo halach be'atzat rashaim. Says the Malbim, a commentary on Tehillim, he says, Maza Ashrei ha'ish? What is happy is the man? Says the Malbim, that happiness and success are two different, distinct things from one another. That happiness is something that has to do with spiritual matters. And success has to do with worldly matters. And success can never bring you happiness. Because if you base your life on success, there will always be somebody in the world who's more successful than you. If you base your happiness on how much money you have, there will always be someone who has more money than you. How handsome you are, there will always be someone more handsome than you. How charming you are, there's always going to be somebody more charming than you. No matter what it is, there'll always be somebody who has more in whatever field it may be. And therefore cannot be the sort of true happiness. Rather, true happiness is something that's from spiritual matters. Something that stems from inside. And we see it goes further than that. Says the Gemara Masechet Shabbat. This is for you because you wanted to throw in your line from the Tzad Shama. You don't want to come into the room. Says the Gemara Masechet Shabbat. Who is a rich person? A person who gets nachat from what he has. Says the Mishnah Pekei Avot. Everybody knows this one. Mihu ashir asameach bechelko. Who is a rich person? A person who's happy with what he has. Good. So we see that richness doesn't bring happiness. Rather, happiness brings richness. Says the Maharal in Der Chaim. He says something beautiful. He says, if you look at a person who has a lot of money in his bank account, you cannot call that person rich. Why? Because the money is disconnected from him. It's somewhere else. But there is a person in the world who doesn't have as much money as him, but is more rich than him. Why? Because the rich is not based on quantity. Rather, riches is based on how you feel. He has something this person will never have. A rich person who feels like he's lacking something, no matter how rich he is, he always feels like he's lacking something. And this, by the way, Shlomo HaMelech writes, Oev kesef, lo yizba kesef. A person who's hungry for money will never become satiated for money. Money will never give you satiation. And therefore, says the Maharal, the money is just connected from him. Because he doesn't have the happiness from it. And he says, do you have a person who can have something that he'll never have, which is richness of the mind? You know what richness of the mind means? I have everything I need. I don't need anything more. My kids are in school. I'm in Kolel. I have whatever I need. I take care of my wife. I give my kids everything they need. Yeah, am I a millionaire? No. Do I drive a G63 G-Wagon fully loaded? No. But I have my car. I'm happy with my car. My wife has her car. I'm happy with what I have. Guess what? You're more rich than that person outside with the mansion the size of, I don't know what, Guatemala. And 14 yachts in the back and jet skis. You know why? Because he'll always feel like he's missing something, and you feel like you have it all. So therefore, ashirut, richness, has nothing to do with quantity, how much you have. It has to do how much you appreciate what you have. And therefore, real happiness is not just from externalities, it's from something inside. It's from an appreciative standpoint. How much do you appreciate what you've been given? And more than that, I'll take it even a step further. We said Shlomo HaMelech, nachon? Shlomo HaMelech, smartest person ever to live. He says in Mishleh, and we say this Faradim, we say this at the end of Shacharit every day. Darkea, darkei noam. V'kol nitivotea, shalom. Etz chaim hi, למחזיקים בה, ותומכיה, מאושר. The Torah's ways are the way of tranquility. All of its route are with peace. It's a tree of life for those who hold on to it. And whoever invests into it finds osher. You know what osher means? Osher and simcha, by the way, two words in Hebrew, which almost have the same meaning. How do you say osher? How do you say simcha in English? Happiness. How do you say osher in English? Some people tell you wealth, but really it's happiness. What's the difference between the two? And here's what I came to talk about. That osher is not something based on externalities.
Aleph or
I was gonna.
No, with the Aleph or Ayin, it's with the Aleph. Yeah, Aleph. That's what he's writing in the Pesukim Mishnah.
Osher is richness.
No, within
There's
ayin,
Osher,
ayin is richness. and
Ashir is rich.
ayin.
Osher,
With an aleph, it's
Osher is wealth or happiness. And what does it mean? It means happiness, simcha. When a person does a party, we say, uoseh simcha. He's making a happiness. So it's something momentary, something temporary. Aval osher, hu me'ushar, is ben adam who's happy, is something that is forever. And therefore, the Chazal was ma'ol midagdek, they were very meticulous with their words. When it came to who is rich, mihu ashir as-sameach bechilko. When it comes to money, you want to be happy? No problem. Money can only give you happiness, something temporary. Aval osher, aval true, lasting happiness that never fades, you can only get it from Torah. This Shlomo HaMelech is right, not me. Whoever invests into the Torah, he will find true happiness. lasting happiness that can never fade. It's real. Has an echo. And I give you another proof to this. We know that when the Torah lists, in Bechukotai, let's go back a little bit. It goes to brachot, if you go in my ways, do my mitzvot. What's the first one it lists? Rain. And we know the Gemara Masechet Ta'anit in the first parak over there, what does it say? That in Yerushalmi, there's the three keys, Hashem never is moser al yedei shaliach. He never sends it on the hands of a messenger. And the Yerushalmi in Jerusalem, not in Bavli, they had an extra key, a fourth key, which is money. Says the Gemara, how come in Bavli they didn't? Because rain and money is the same thing. And therefore, when you see that Hashem is blessing you with rain, it means He's blessing you with money. How come Hashem didn't say money straight out? Because money could be a blessing, it could be a curse. Have a rain, you have to learn. And how do we get there? How do we get that place of true happiness? Torah. You invest in the Torah, over there you'll find true happiness. You invest into these things, over there you'll find true happiness. Now, with that being said, I wanted to focus in on something very, very important. Now we understand that a person who's smart, he realizes that if he really wants to live a happy life, he should stop investing in things that are not going to bring him happiness. Because we see, also, when it comes to money, the Gemara Masechet Brachot says, "Akol b'yedei shamayim, chutz miyat shamayim." Everything's in the hands of God, except for your fear of God. What does it mean, your fear of God? That which you do for God. So, meaning to say, also Gemara Masechet Beitzat says that your amount of money you make from year to year is already decreed on you from the year prior, from Yom Kippur, from Rosh Hashanah to Yom Kippur. And therefore, what do most people spend their time on? They spend their time investing in how am I going to make more money. But all of those things are not even in your hands. They're in God's hands. But the one thing that's in your hand, which is how much Torah, how much mitzvot you do, how much time you spend with Hashem, the one thing you have in your hand is the one you spend the least amount of time with. The one thing you have control over. But I want to focus on a very, very important point. And I think that the secret lies in value. The value system of a person. Why doesn't everyone in the world spend every moment they possibly can in the Torah? If we already established here, clear cut, that Torah brings a person real happiness, and nothing else in the world that matters, is because a person doesn't understand the true value of it. And value is something that we need to correct. We need to correct in our minds what's truly valuable. And Hashem, by the way, we should know, what does He expect from a person? How much time does He expect you to learn in a day? Listen to this. There's a famous Gemara, Masechet Pesachim. It's a machloket, a debate between two of the sages, Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua. Two of the sages, and they have a machloket. They have an argument. There's two psukim in the Torah. Atzeret LaHashem Elokechem, a holiday for your God. And another pasuk in Bamidbar, Atzeret Yeh Lechem, a holiday for you. Says Rabbi Eliezer, how do we take these two seemingly contradicting things? Wait, either it's for me or it's for God. How do we take these two contradicting verses and make them work together? Says Rabbi Eliezer, a holiday, meaning a Yom Tov, a holiday, you have a choice. You can either spend it all day working God, or you can spend it all day working Hashem. But one or the other, you cannot do both. Says Rabbi Yeshua, no, chetzi, half. Atzeret Hashem Elokechem, make half the day for God, and half the day for yourself. Now, more than that, I'll tell you, Legabe Shabbat, the Holy Shabbat, there's a Shulchan Aruch brings down in Or Chaim, Siman Resh Mem Bet. He brings down, it's a mitzvah l'taneg al Shabbat. He said it's a mitzvah for a person to have enjoyment on Shabbat. With what? With mahalim, with food, with drink, with clothing, to dress nicely, to enjoy from Shabbat. It's a mitzvah. It's a good deed. Not only that, there's a Gemara Masechet Shabbat says, anyone who's mitaneg al Shabbat, who has enjoyment from Shabbat, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Meshur Rabbi Yossi, Kol המענג את השבת, נותנים לו נחלה בלי מצרים. They give him endless amount of enjoyment. And more than that, it continues. That's not it. It says more than that. Rab Nachman bar Yitzchak אומר, אף ניצול משיבוד גלויות. He saved from the pain of the exile. And a third thing, this is not me. רבי יהודה אמר רב, כל המענג את השבת, נותנים לו משאלות ליבו. You enjoy Shabbat, you go out of your way to buy a beautiful wine for Shabbat, candy, whatever you enjoy. They're gonna. This is the Gemara says Hashem will give you whatever your heart desires. So I ask a question on this. We're talking about holiday, talking about Shabbat. All week we're working, all week we're enjoying, in our way, ourselves. And how much time can we allocate to God? Shouldn't it be simple that we should spend the whole day with God? Whatever we have to do, go meet, whatever, but quickly get back to the shul, it should be simple. Why are the sages so involved with go and enjoy, go eat, go this, have the day for yourself? Why are they so invested into these things? And I think the answer lies over here. There's a Mishnah in Pirkei Avot. It says, Shammai Omer, Aseh Torotecha Keva. Shammai, one of the great sages, he says you should make your Torah primary. Primary. What does that mean? If I would ask you what that means, you would tell me that means that the only thing you have to focus in on life is Torah. It's primary. It's the number one thing in the whole entire world. But I think, listen to this. Rabbeinu Yonah says, and he quotes Gemara in Avot Rabbi Natan, anyone who makes his Torah primary and makes his melacha secondary and makes his work secondary, in Olam Haba, in the next world, they'll make him primary. And anyone who's the opposite, chas v'shalom, God forbid, it'll be the opposite. In the next world, they'll make him secondary, if he makes Torah secondary. And therefore, I think the answer is clear. I think what the sages are trying to tell us is not about how much time you spend with the Torah. It's about the intention you have when you spend with the Torah. It's not about how much time you spend at work. It's about how do you look at life. What's your outlook? Is your outlook is that my work is number one and religion is secondary? Or my Torah, my religion is number one, and what can I do after work? What can I do? I have bills, I have this, I have that, I have to go to work. But really, if I had a choice, what would I be doing? Learning Torah. I want to sit down, I want to learn Torah. I want to spend much time with Torah, with you, reading, enjoying, Hashem, whatever it could be. I want to spend time with you, that's what I want to do. But what can I do after work? And therefore, in that way, you will make the Torah primary. And I'll take it a step further. There's a Gemara Masechet Chagigah that says there was a rabbi, his name was Harav Idi. Harav Idi, what was his name? He had to go and work. Now, back in the day, to go and work and travel for work, it wasn't you get on a plane, you fly to Texas, you come back 24 hours later. Back in the day, you had to travel for work, is the horses, 3 months until you get over there. 1 month to get there, 1 month to work, 1 month to get back. I mean, on the way back, 3 months till you get back. So you go for work 3 months. And he would come back one day. And the day he came back, the first thing he did was he ran to the Bet Midrash of Rav. He ran to go learn in the shul of Rav, in the house of study of Rav. And all the sages of the time would see this guy come in one day of the year. They started to make fun of him. They called him Tamid Le'yom, a student for a day. And he got offended. And on the way out, Rabbi Yochanan saw him. And he told him, look, I'm embarrassed. He told them, please do not be makpid on them. Don't be strict on them. They don't know what they're talking about. He went in at that moment. Rabbi Yochanan left him. He went into the study hall and he started giving a drasha, a shiur, in front of everybody. He asked him a question. He says there's a pasuk in the Nevi'im, Yeshayahu. It says over there, Ve'oti yom yom yidarshun. And me, God says, day they seeked. Says Rabbi Yochanan to the stages, everybody sitting over there, all the Talmidei Hamim, all the rabbis. He tells them, what's this pasuk talking about? Ve'oti yom yom. If you want to tell me that God is telling me that only in the daytime I have to seek Him, but not in the night, there's another pasuk in the Nevi'im, it says, V'agitem bo yom v'layla. They have to toil the Torah in the morning and in the night. So that cannot mean what it means. Rather, says Rabbi Yochanan, he says something beautiful. He says, a person who only learns for a day, that's all he can do. Ma'aleh alav ha'katuv, the Torah brings on him as if he learned the entire year. He only learned for one day. You know why? What can I do? 3 months I'm away. What can I do after work? But when I have a moment free, when I have a day free, Hashem, I'll give it to you. Hashem says, if that's the case, then the whole year is Torah. If you show Hashem, I wake up in the morning, let's say for example, I go to shul, or if I can't go to shul, whatever the situation is, I'm driving to work, instead of listening to music, I put on shul Torah. Put on Torah session, and put on whatever it could be, Torah anytime, whatever you want. You put on shul Torah, YouTube, whatever it is, put on Shul Torah instead of 30 minutes in the car listening to Shul Torah. You leave work, Shul Torah. And if you go to Shiur, you can go learn, sit down and learn, even better. What are you showing Hashem? Before I came to work, I'm learning. Why? That's what I want to do. I have to go to work. What can I do? I have to go to work. When I leave work, what's the first thing I'm doing? I'm learning. Why? Because what I really want to do? Learn. I really want to be listening to Torah all day. But what can I do after work? Hashem says if that's the case, the whole day, you worked 11 hours, every hour is like you learn Torah. Every single hour like you learn Torah. And therefore we see that it's not something based in how much. It's based on your outlook. You could spend 1 hour a day with the Torah, and Hashem will give you all 23. All depends how you look at it. And I'll give you an example, and from here you can understand. 2 husbands work in the same office. Where do they work? Happen to be, they work home warranties. Now, for those who don't know, home warranties, they work you like a dog over there. You have to be there 8 o'clock in the morning. You can only leave 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. Especially if you're on the A team or what. 2 husbands, same exact team, same exact hours. They even carpool with each other. They get home the same exact time, they leave home the same exact time. One husband, as soon as he gets home from work, he gets home 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. First thing he does, opens the shirt, sits down on the couch, pops open a beer, takes out his phone, because like a drunk person on the phone the whole night. The kids, the wife, don't talk to me. The other guy, first thing he does when he comes home, what's the first thing he does when he comes home? He throws everything down. He goes to his children, picks them up, gives them a kiss, gives the other one a kiss, sits down with them, has dinner. Then he goes to shower them, puts them to bed. Then he sits down with his wife, talking with her and everything. And only after his wife goes to sleep, he sits down with himself 30 minutes, whatever he needs to do on the phone, and then he goes to sleep. Come Shabbat, the first guy who came home, I work like a dog, my free time is for me. Come Shabbat, he quickly does Kiddush with the family, runs out to go hang out with his friends and drink whiskey and sit down and I don't know what and have talking with his friends, and his family leaves him at home. Come Saturday daytime, same thing. He wakes up in the morning, goes to shul, comes back from, first of all, he doesn't even come back from shul. First things first, a couple of shots before he goes home from shul. Comes home like this. For Kiddush, drunk out of his mind, barely woke up the stairs. Comes home, okay, probably angry because most of the time what's happening, people were drinking. He spends maybe 20 minutes with his wife, then passes out in the car. Wakes up 2 hours later, what's the first thing he does? Another drinking party in shul. And he leaves. The other guy, Shabbat night, he runs back home from shul, sits down with his family, sits down with his kid, what you done this week? How my wife, this, that, talking with them. The next morning, he runs back home from shul, he does Kiddush with his family, sit down, they eat, they enjoy, then he takes his kids, puts them in the stroller, takes them to the park, plays with them, puts them on the swings. You meet both wives in the park. Both wives, their husbands work the same amount of time. Nothing changed. One wife will tell you I have the worst husband in the whole entire world. He hates me, he hates my kids. I don't even know why I married him. And the other wife, she'll tell you I have the best husband in the whole entire world. I got so lucky. I'm so blessed that I married him. Nothing changed. They work the same amount of time. Why? It's about the outlook. I have to work, honey. What can I do? But really, I want to be home with you. I want to spend time with the kids. But so my free time, I'm showing you what's important to me. You're important to me. So the moment I have for a moment, I want to spend it with you. I want to be with you. You know, the Mefarshim bring down that Hashem, many people think that when we got to Har Sinai, when we got to the Mount Sinai, we married God. The Jewish people was like that we are like the husband and God's like the Kala. But the reality is that God is the father-in-law. And who's the real wife? The Torah. The Torah is the Kala. The Torah is the bride. And the same way, this wife, she should have the best husband in the whole entire world. It's the same way the Torah can say about you after 120 that I had the best partner in the whole entire world. You know why? Because he had to work. Yeah, she had to work. Yeah, but the moments that they had free, they spent with me. They showed me what was truly important to them. And that was me. Value. You'll be surprised just by changing your value what you could do. They one time asked Rav Zamir Cohen, which is my rabbi, by the way, who unfortunately his father passed away. And his father was a working man. And all of his children came out to be huge rabbis. So they asked him and said, what did your father do that he had the merit to have children who are such big rabbis? One of them is the head of one of the biggest outreach organizations in the whole entire world. The other one's the head of rabbi of the city. He's one of the biggest rabbis in all of Israel. What did he do that he was zocheh? And his children told him, Avzimir says, you know why my father was zocheh? You know why my father had the merit? Because when we were kids growing up, we saw how much my father loved and valued the rabbis, the Torah. So we saw what was truly valuable to him. So when we saw what was valuable to him, that's what became valuable to us. Your children see everything. And when you come home and the thing that's valuable to you is not the Torah, and then you ask, why did my kid end up the way he did? Why is he all the day out, man? Because you showed him what's really valuable. He came home and what did he see from Abba? Abba all he cares about is the money and the watches and the stupidity and the jet skis and all. So what does the kid want to do? I want to also get the watches and the jet skis. But if the father shows the kid, oh, you know what's important to me? Torah. For you to be a Torah, the kid, oh, that's what's important? No problem. The kid, every child in the whole entire world wants to make their parents proud of them. But who decides what's the value? The kids don't learn from the words that you say to them. You can tell them from today to tomorrow, don't smoke cigarettes. What's the kid going to do? Why? Because your actions speak louder than your words. When you come home, instead of investing your time with the Torah or in the car, you're sitting with the kids. I drive my kids to school every morning. There are times, I'll be honest, where I put them songs because they're little kids and they enjoy it. But only songs about Hashem. But most of the time, 90% of the time, they're in the car, I put on a Shul Torah, they hear me listen to Shul Torah. They probably don't understand anything, halachot Shabbat, halachot Boreh, halachot Brachot. But they understand what's important to Abba? Torah. Abba, they come home and they see Abba Tuesday, they come home from school, they see Abba's already in the notes, 7 books in front of him, praying Shiurim. Shabbat, whenever I'm not with them, they come and say, I'm in a book. I open Sefer in my house. So what are the kids going to see? What's valuable to my father? Torah. Hashem, God willing, of course. Obviously, everything up in Hashem's hands. You know, Cham Ovadia. They one time asked Cham David, Cham Yitzchak. They asked him, what was your father zocheh? That he had all of his children became big rabbis. He says, I remember personally. I don't remember when Cham David or Cham Yitzchak said that. I think it was Cham David. He said, I remember personally, I would come down in the morning, and when my dad would pass in the morning prayers, he would get by the part of Titzayinu, Titzayinu, that our children and our children should love your Torah. He would cry tears. He would cry tears. So when a person understands that, look, you're Chama Vadia, what do you have to worry about? You say every child in the whole entire world, everyone that's here today probably is a result of Chama Vadia's work. And he's still worried? Because again, at the end of the day, everything's in Hashem's hands. So of course, God willing, but we have to understand that the child sees what's valuable to the father and he will try to amplify that. He'll try to elevate that. We know that this all is reliant on how you see the world. So if you understand that what's truly valuable, because if all you want, how do we tell this you? What does everyone want? To be happy. So if we already established now that true happiness cannot come from anything that's outside, and true happiness comes from here, then what should be the most valuable thing to you in the whole entire world? The Torah. And when the Torah becomes the most valuable thing to you in the whole entire world, by the way, you also find the true internal happiness that's everlasting, that no one can take it away from you. That nothing in the world is not contingent on anything, it lasts forever. And more than that, your children will see what's valuable to you, and they'll follow in those ways. And you'll be surprised, and don't think with Hashem, that it's based on how much, because the smallest action can have the biggest impact. And I'll finish with this story. There was a story of a child, a real story by the way. It's about 20 years ago. He wanted to go to camp. Now, with those who don't know, camp, Jewish camp in the summertime is very expensive. Especially if it's sleepaway camp. So he would beg his parents all year, please, all my friends are going. And his parents, they didn't have enough. The mother and the father were barely able to scrape the 17, 18, whatever it was, had to pay to send them to camp. They sent him to camp. And in camp, they had a special truck with ice cream that they would hand out to the kids. And every kid had like a canteen, had like a budget, a locker of money in his account. And every day this child had to see his friends eating ice cream. And he didn't have any money in his account. And after a few weeks of him watching all of his friends enjoying and he can't, the rabbi and you can imagine, the rabbis are involved with 200 kids over there. he notices that everyone is eating ice cream and this one child is not. And he begins to observe him, and he realizes that every day he doesn't eat ice cream. He comes to the canteen guy, the guy who's running the canteen, the ice cream thing over there. He tells him, how come every day everybody's eating ice cream, this kid doesn't have ice cream? He says, I don't know, he never once got ice cream over here. He checks, $0 in his account. The rabbi takes out his wallet right away, gives him $100. He says, for this boy, anytime he runs out, come back to me, I'll give you another $100. Let him come every single day. And that's how it was. Fast forward, the kid grew up, went to school, became very successful, became a real estate mogul, became very, very wealthy. And one day he was doing a deal with a goy, with a non-Jew. And the non-Jewish guy says, look, I work with so many Jewish people, I have a few hundred thousands of dollars I want to give away to an organization. And a few people have been reaching out to me, it's about $400,000 I want to give away. And I heard about this yeshiva, and he says the name, which happened to be the yeshiva this guy went to, and which the rabbi gave him the $100 to the canteen. The guy says to him, oh, you're never going to believe. I actually used to go there. And the rabbi did. He put in my canteen. The guy said, yeah, that's it. I'm even doubling my investment. And gave double the money to the yeshiva. You see, sometimes even the smallest action can have the biggest impact. It's also, like we said in the last class, that also Mishnah Pirkei Avot, lo alecha melecha ligmor ve'en eta ben chorin lebetel mimena. It's not for you to finish a job, and you're also not for you to not try. Because the smallest steps can take you very far. When it comes to Torah, Hashem says, I don't need you to jump bridges for me. I need you to make that one step. I need you to show me that you want it. I need you to show me that it's valuable to you. That you want it to be valuable to you. Even if you have a hard time right now, okay, I got it, you came to shiur, I got inspired, no problem. But I want you to show me that you want it. It doesn't have to be that right now it's valuable to you. You want it to be valuable to you. Hashem says, you just want it to be valuable for you, and I'll do the rest. Just show me you have that want. And everything else I'll take care of. So we all be zocheh to find true happiness in the Torah, to have that true value, and we'll be zocheh to have not only us, but also our children to always be in the ways of Hashem. Amen. Thank you. Do we have 10?